Massiva, this is LaserBolt and welcome to today's video. Today's video, guys, we are gonna be covering RNG. Yes, you heard it correctly, RNG. What if I told you Outriders has no RNG? And I could go a little bit further. No game has RNG. Today we're gonna be talking about RNG and answer the question that a lot of you guys have been asking me is, Laser, how are you able to determine where loot drops in Outriders? How is this possible if there is RNG? Even the devs have said there is RNG. Today we're going to be talking about how I'm able to do that and why your idea of RNG is not the correct one and might be a little bit wrong. So let's go ahead and dive in and talk about the infamous RNG in Outriders. All right, guys, so I want to make this as easy to understand as possible because we could get into a more complex thing, but I want to make sure everybody understands exactly what's going on with RNG. So what exactly is RNG? RNG stands for random number generator. Now, when we hear this in video games, we automatically, and our brain automatically associates this with luck. We think we're going to be lucky to get a lot of loot, or some people are unlucky and they don't get the loot that they want. Like, for example, in Outriders, some people have a lot of legendaries. They have a bunch of dead shields. Some people have a lot of seismic helmets. And you guys probably played the same amount of hours and you don't have the same outcome. How is that even possible? Why is RNG being so mean to you? Today, I'm going to tell you guys why that might be the case, that you are not getting the drops, and why RNG doesn't even exist. So now that we know that RNG stands for random number generator, and a lot of people associate this with luck, let's explain the two different types of RNG, because I'm pretty sure some of you guys, I'm going to say at least 80% of you guys didn't know that there are two types of RNG. There is the regular RNG, which everybody thinks is part of video games, which is known as hardware RNG. And there is the pseudo-random RNG, known as PRNG. Now, if you ask almost any video game company, or you ask any video game developer, or you take almost every single video game that's currently right now available, all of them use the PRNG system, which is an input and output RNG, which it only works with algorithm. Now, for those of you who don't know what algorithm means, it's basically a way something is coded that when you do something, you get a certain result. That is the simplest way to actually go ahead and put that into perspective. Now, the majority of you guys believe that there's only one RNG, and this RNG is based on luck. I'm here to tell you guys that no, guys, there are two types of RNG. You could probably Google this, go onto YouTube, so you guys can get a better understanding of how it works. But PRNG is very predominant when it comes to video games. And almost every single video game currently right now is running on a PRNG. That is why you hear companies saying that when you get loot, they'll tell you, yeah, that's pure RNG. They just don't tell you what RNG they're currently using, because they're not really wrong by saying there is RNG. They're just not telling you which one out of the two RNGs are. So what are the difference between a regular RNG and a PRNG? Well, the difference are actually very, very important, because a regular RNG, which is made by hardware, this is actually what it is. It is a random number that gets generated randomly. Okay, so it's just like there is absolutely no way of you knowing what number is being actually outputted. Now, the one that the video games use, which is PRNG, this is all created and triggered by different values. So I'm going to give you guys a couple examples here on Outriders so you guys can better understand how it works in other video games as well. And you could actually do your own research, go to YouTube and put, is there RNG in video games, RNG in video games? It'll give you guys a more breakdown of what I'm trying to tell you guys, but I just wanted to bring it in perspective towards Outriders. So in Outriders, if you guys want better loot, if you want to make sure you get the loot that you want, there are certain things that you need to do to actually trigger this. So the game looks at it this way. It says, okay, well, let me see, player one is playing the game right now. It took him 3 minutes to actually complete this mission. Then it takes a look at the value of your armor, and it says, okay, well, it looks like his weapon's pretty low. It looks like his helmet's pretty low. It looks like his boots are pretty low. And then it says, okay, well, let me figure out exactly what he needs and what I could actually do to keep him playing the game. If the game was just to spit out all the legendaries for you guys, you know what would happen? We would all stop playing because we already have everything. So the game takes that all into perspective. In addition to that, it takes how much time you're spending in the game, how many expeditions you did, and it calculates all that, and it puts them in an algorithm, and then it determines if it should give you the item or if it should not give you the item. Now, how can you turn the tide from the game and actually get the result that you want? Well, that is by a couple ways. One is determining what expedition drops what, which is what we've been doing here on the channel. We've been able to compile the data And we have a specific way of actually doing the data compiling that a lot of people aren't aware of because, people aren't in video game coding or don't understand how video game coding works. But any video game coder will be able to tell you exactly what I'm telling you right now, is that you could actually figure out exactly what loot you will get from where. And theoretically, I'm going to give you guys an example. Let's say all of us decide to launch the game at the same time with the same second of time, a millisecond down to a T, and we all play a certain expedition. Let's say we all play Boomtown, and we all 10 of us come into an agreement and say, okay, guys, when we play Boomtown, we are going to finish in 5 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay, 5 minutes and 45 seconds. We are all going to clear it out. We're all going to use the same guns. We're all going to use the same gear, so the same helmet, same level, same damage type. Everything is the same across the board. I could 99% tell you that primarily because the game will have the same algorithm and it will generate the same loot for everybody. Now, the only thing this could change, taking Boomtown into consideration, is if someone opened the door a little bit late, someone didn't open the door at the same time. But if all of you do the same thing at the same time, same gear, same guns, same everything, all of you would get the same loot. And now that is the reason why all of us get different loot, because we're all doing different things at the same time. The game is taking all that data, putting it into context, and giving everybody a different set of amount of loot. Now, you probably actually even noticed this already in the game, and you really didn't think anything of it, but you're already noticing that there is something going wrong or something very different with RNG in the game, and that is that the majority of us almost always get the same loot when we do an expedition. We always get the same legendary, because if you guys go to your inventory and maybe you haven't deleted anything or stuff is still in your, you still have stuff in your inventory, you're going to notice that everybody in their inventory has one particular item, and that is a cannibal armor. You're going to notice whether you're a trickster, pyromancer, technomancer, devastator, all of us get this very frequently. Either we get the boots, we get the chest piece, we get the helmet. This is dropping at a very high rate. It's dropping at such a high rate that all of us in Outriders, if we were to take into account how many of these items we got in, you're going to notice that that's going to be the item that's mostly outweighed out of every other legendary. That is because the algorithm makes it so you can get a legendary, and when you see the legendary, you're like, yes, I got a legendary, and it's not the legendary you want, but your brain's going to tell you, well, maybe next time you'll get the legendary you want, so keep playing, because they have to have in their algorithm where you feel like you're getting something in reward, and psychologically your brain's going to think, okay, well, I did get this legendary, that means next time I'll probably get the one I want. That is basically how gaming works. And it's pretty interesting and very amazing that a lot of these companies actually go and talk to psychiatrists, talk to people who study, people's behavior. And one of the biggest games I could actually reference to this is Destiny. Destiny took a long time studying people's behaviors. Bungie decided to use behavioral psychology to make Destiny and to figure out how people's brains and behavior actually functions, especially when it comes to gambling, and what makes you and keeps you hooked to be playing a game over and over. And one of the key factors is RNG, because if you think that there's always a possibility of you being able to win something, you're going to keep playing it over and over. But RNG never exists. It's just an algorithm that's created by a machine that is determined based on the input values that you actually trigger. For example, what your armor is, how fast you finish the mission, how much damage did you do, what type of armor do you have. It is all determined by all these factors. If you're able to actually figure out exactly what is the actual input that triggers that value, that is where you have the break of the algorithm. And that is what all the companies try to safeguard and try to keep away from people finding out exactly how this actually works in the video game they actually created. They even go so far that they change the algorithm every time they do a patch to keep people from actually knowing exactly how the algorithm works. And that pretty much should give you guys a sum of RNG. Go ahead, Google it for yourself if you don't believe me or you don't want to take my word. Google how RNG works in video games, or just Google, PRNG, and that will give you guys a better idea, understanding of how RNG works in video games. If you have any questions regarding this particular topic, drop them in the comment section down below. I'll be more than happy to answer you guys as quickly as I possibly can. I hope to see you guys today on stream if you have questions about this as well. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys are enjoying our Outriders coverage. If you are, doing the huge favor, guys, drop a like and drop a comment. But most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications so you guys won't miss